Welcome to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. Have you ever asked a question? Have you ever been in a classroom, been curious, or ever wanted to teach and learn? Then you're in the right place, because I have questions. Hi, I'm Mike Ruland. I've been a business owner, a soldier, an educator, a husband, a father. I am full of ADHD and am experiencing the negative effects of long COVID. But I've spent the last 2 decades working in the public school system as a teacher, coach, mentor, and administrator. I'm very passionate about being curious, about being educated, and most importantly, about having questions. Join me on my journey as I share stories, talk to some fun and inspiring people, gain insights to being a better teacher, a better student, and maybe even a better human. I hope you're ready, because I have questions. Welcome, welcome. Hey, if you've tuned in on purpose to hear my journey on I Have Questions, it's so nice to talk to you again. If you've accidentally found yourself listening to me and now wonder what the heck is going on, please stay a while, because I know it will be nice to talk to you. I know every one of you have so much going on and so much to think about and do. I want to thank you from the bottom of my long COVID ADHD heart for spending a little bit of your energy with me today. You know, I sure hope you find today to be interesting. I want to talk to you about meeting students and people where they are in moments in time and, how that can radically make a difference in not only that person's life, but yours as well. Today's guest, well, I'm very excited for this, but don't tell them. Today's guest is someone who helped me get my teaching chops on, and we have become close friends. They are someone who has a little of that old school teaching in them, but has always been open to trying new things. But most importantly, they mix their knowledge with relationships. It's so important and so cool. I can hardly wait for you to meet them. All right, enough rambling. Are you ready? Well, I'm ready because I have questions. So, you know, I don't know. Now that I've gotten long COVID, I really have struggled with a lot of things. Brain fog is one of them, and it's really gotten me to wondering about memorizing and remembering things. And so, have you ever wondered how we learn to memorize? I know I have and do. Years ago, I had a math student who asked during the first week of school if he could use crayons for his work. For some reason, I didn't hesitate and I said, of course. It wasn't a popular decision with other teachers because they told me he's in high school now and he shouldn't be using crayons and he won't be using crayons on a job. And I just thought, well, he isn't at a job. And what does it really matter? What do I really want him to learn? Well, math. That's what I wanted him to learn. So guess what? He learned math. He went on, graduated college, has a great job. Using those crayons were really about meeting him where he was. They were about comfort, and they were also about how his brain processed. Some of us turn things into songs to remember. Some come up with nicknames. Some people rhyme things. He used color. In fact, I read an article from the National Library of Medicine, and they did a study. It's been a while, over a decade ago, probably, about the importance of colors and memory. And in that study, they pointed out that color is believed to be the most important visual experience that humans experience. In fact, study after study has shown that color and memory work hand in hand. So now that I'm struggling with a chronic health condition, I find that it is important for society to meet me where I am. 4 years ago, I loved noise. I love being around those kids. I love them running around, being loud, talking, working, laughing. Now, I pretty much need dark and quiet. I have no energy, and all I hope for every day is for the world to figure out how to meet me where my body and brain are at this moment. And so I want to talk to somebody about how that should happen every day at every moment as we move forward. Hey, here we go. Let's do this. You're done listening to me. So today, my guest is someone who taught me so much as a teacher. I actually measured what I did in my classroom against what she was doing. We even had to share a room one year. Brutal for me, but I think she was okay with it because she's weird. We worked together and wrote an Algebra 1 curriculum. That was amazing. And she's been a math teacher at Cedar Crest in Duvall, Washington since 2007. She taught for a couple of years before that. She's getting older by the day. I am so very pleased to welcome Miss Bobby Simone. Bobby,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here with you. How are you?
I'm fine. It's been a long time coming. You're a tough one to nail down.
I
Oh,
once
well.
the school year starts, it gets so tricky, right?
Yes, I know. All right. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Good, because Bobby, I have questions. All right. I recently had the distinct pleasure this fall, actually, of telling my high school math teacher, who was also the principal at the time, that I actually followed in his footsteps. Boy, did I take him by surprise. I was not a good student in school. I was ADHD and dyslexic back in a time and place where those things really weren't things. I didn't really have a passion for much of anything, but Mr. Hanegraaff's clearly took me under his wing. And, he said to me, he said, "Well, I knew you were listening in class, and that's all I really wanted from you at the time." So, with that conversation in my mind, I'm thinking, I wasn't a good student, but I'm betting you were a really good student in school and probably liked math. But is that true? And, you know, did you find that teachers didn't have to meet you where you were very often because you liked school, or how did that pan out for you?
It's so funny. By the way, I love that story. I feel like that just fits you so perfectly. Um, it's so funny. My parents were both teachers and my aunt was a teacher. And so I think I liked school just because it's what I grew up around and like I played school when I was a kid. So I liked school, but I actually hated math. Math was so hard for me in high school, in particular. Um, that was back in the integrated series, the integrated days. And like I think about integrated one was okay because it was kind of like algebra one. But man, integrated two with Mr. Medina, I tortured that poor man. I probably went in for help, every single morning and would just say, Mr. Medina, I have no idea what's going on. And he was kind of a tougher, surlier guy and in the most respectful way possible, he taught me a lot about how to have good boundaries, but also like what I would maybe want to do in my classroom that like fit my personality better and fit students like me a little bit better that maybe math doesn't initially come so easily at first and if they're coming in for help, man, you wanna be inviting because you want them to keep coming back, you know? And not saying that Mr. Medina wasn't, he was great, but he just, he had kind of a tougher approach than, you know, than sensitive little sophomore me could handle.
Well, that feels like you tend to find people who are that way around you.
Yes. I find them and surround myself with them, yes.
So I guess, thinking about your sophomore math teacher, and knowing that he was tougher, can you remember, was there ever a moment that obviously there was a connection there, you remember him.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment that you can think of where he really did meet you where you were?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, with sometimes going in there, I would sometimes, like, bring my friends in because I felt like sometimes Mr. Medina would say something, and he tried so hard. I appreciate his effort to help me,
Hmm,
but sometimes it felt like another language, and so I would sometimes bring a friend in with me, and I would say, "I want you to listen to what Mr. Medina says, and then I want you to say it." And man, I it would click. It would just click hearing it maybe from like a peer or someone else. But yeah, there were times where Mr. Medina would get down right in front of me and say, he always forgot that my name was Bob. He would just say, "Robin, here's the way to do it. Let me break it to you need to go home and sleep on it." And actually, that's something I tell my students now. Go home and sleep on this. Look at it in the morning again. Let it like jog your memory, create that like familiarity with it cuz sometimes things seem so much harder just because they feel new.
yeah,
So, and I really
yeah,
like that, and honestly, one of my teachers later in high school, Mr. Shell, who was just wonderful actually, he reminded me a lot of you. He was so wonderful. Mr. Shell did that a lot to me. He would say, "Hey, Bobby, go home, sleep on this, think about it." So I don't know, maybe that was, like, the terminology back then, but I thought it was a great tactic and something that I used then in college, like, look at it at night and then look at it again the next morning. That, like,
yeah,
resonated with me.
cool. So, talking about these teachers kinda helping meet you where you were, not a great math student. Have you ever had I'm sure you have, I know you have, I've seen it, but is there one that stands out where you've met a kid where they were, and what does that actually mean to you in your classroom?
Yeah, I mean, teaching math, it's like not only have I had that happen, I mean, I have it happen every year where I've gotta say, "Okay, I need to meet you where you're at." And I have students like that right now where, I'm getting to know what their skill level is, but also what their personality is, what their preferences are, and whether, they're comfortable with math or not. I try to figure out, like, where is kind of a good starting point, and then how can we build on that and increase their confidence and make them feel comfortable to the point where they're like, I'm willing to give that stretch. And I think that's the most important part is talk to them like a normal person. Make them feel that you are there not as their math teacher, you are there as their person of support. Like, okay, I know you can add like terms. Can we expand on that? Can we strengthen that even more and then expand on that so now we can multiply polynomials? So it's really saying, hey, let's strengthen those skills and then let's expand that. But I feel like that is so much all about building that rapport, building that
Mhm.
relationship with that student where you're not their grader, you are their helper. And I really
Yeah,
try to, like, hammer that home of, like, I'm not giving you a grade, I'm here to help you earn the grade you want.
yeah. So, have you used that ha classrooms bore me, as you know. Um, have you used that idea as a worker? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yes, you're in school, you're an educator, you're a teacher, but you're also a worker, right? That's what the world is, unfortunately or fortunately. So, have you had somebody be able to use that for you, or have you used that meeting them where they are as a worker versus as a teacher?
Oh, totally. Do you mean, like, in terms of, like, our colleagues and stuff? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, your colleagues, the kids, your boss,
Yeah,
your
totally.
husband, any right?
Yeah.
Who I love. Just
Do you know what's
disclaimer,
Do you know
I love
what's
her
funny?
husband.
I think about it, definitely, being here, I was the, head of the math department for, oh my gosh, like 15 years. And it's one of those things where like I have used that countless times. I mean, we have not always worked with people that like our personalities totally fit. And so you have to figure out a way to make it work and make things a little bit better. And so like for me, it's definitely acknowledging them where they're at and then building on those strengths. Like I'm thinking about one person in particular about like classroom management. They were such a wonderful person and a great teacher, but classroom management was not very strong. So working on like, okay, you've got great relationships with students. How can we expand on that so that, that then shows up in the classroom management so that your kids aren't off task and doing whatever they want. They actually want to learn. They want to be focused. Um, but that,
So
oh, sorry.
no, sorry.
No, you're
So using me as the example here was not what I wanted, just so you know.
You you had the best classroom management, I'm not kidding. Sharing a classroom with you was like, I think back on that and I think, "Man, number 1, those kids wanted to do well, not just for themselves, they want to do well because they wanted to make you proud," which I think is just one of the coolest things I had
They
ever
didn't want
seen.
me to yell at them.
Well, that's always the goal too. But truly, like you would be able to say like, "Hey Johnny, I don't want you behaving that way right now because I know you've got a big football game on Friday. I want you to stay on track. I don't want that to be I mean, you just knew about the kids. You had a great relationship with them. And, like I try to emulate that. I often think back to our days when we were sharing a classroom and like, how can I reach every kid so that we have that kind of relationship where they want to do well for themselves, but they also want to do well for me, for their peers, for their parents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I think further about this, right? Have you ever had kids meet you where you were on a day, right? Because I know. So I asked that question, right? Because and you've lived through a lot of my downfalls in teaching, but right, I've been through 1 or 2 surgeries and, didn't take time off, so showed up, and I had a lot of kids do things looking back on it that I'm like, "Holy crap." I think they met me more than I met them sometimes, right?
Totally.
And so have you had that
Oh my
that you can
gosh.
think of?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I don't wanna, like, say that it has to be an extreme, like, surgery,
No.
but because you mentioned it, it does I mean, that does, like, really stand out. Last year, I had major surgery, and I had to be out of school. I thought I was only gonna be out for 2 weeks because 'cause I'm an idiot, and it turned out that it was 2 months, and it's funny
Close.
because close. It's funny because as I was prepping and knew that I was gonna be out for a little while, I was making a lot of videos and I was so stressed out about taking care of my students because teacher guilt is a real thing. We like feel like they're going to die without us or something. And as I was preparing, I started asking students, I said, "Hey, in each class I said, "Hey, do I have any leaders in here that while I'm out you're willing to be the leader that like steps up and you're kind of the peer tutor?" And I am telling you, I had so many kids that were like, "I'm willing to. I'm willing to do that." As my 2 weeks turned into 2 months, and even when I came back, I couldn't be on my feet for very long, so I was still, like, teaching from my desk. Man, those kids were so phenomenal. They would go around, they would check on their neighbors, they would see how their classmates were doing. They would say something like, you know, "Hey, Elisa, I can see you've got a problem here. Make sure you talk to Miss Simone about it. Like, go up there, go chat with her." I mean, they were so phenomenal. And I would say, in general, kids want to do that. Once you create that rapport with students, it's not just your high flyers, it's all of your students. They want they wanna support you like you support them. And,
Mhm.
outside of, like, the surgery time, I think about, like, we're human beings. There are days where we come in, we drag ourselves to work sick, and our kids recognize, "Oh, okay, the teacher's not feeling well," and instead of it being like, you know, blood in the water for sharks. If you create that really great relationship, that great support system, man, your kids will recognize like, "Hey, today the teacher is a little bit off. How can we work together to like still get through this lesson and make it
Yeah.
effective, which is
Yeah.
very cool.
Very cool. Did your phone just ding?
No, it was my computer.
Oh,
Girl,
man.
I don't know how to disable that. Are you
That's
surprised I'm
awesome.
not tech savvy?
No, not at all. I'm not. Other people might be. You remember, people, as you're watching this, she's actually almost 60.
Oh my god, that's so evil. I'm in my late 30s, mid-30s.
Yeah, not true. All right, ready?
Ready.
So, as we wrap things up, your
We're
turn.
done already? I love
I
this.
know. I know.
I don't want it to
As
end.
as as we come to the close, your turn. What have I missed? Or do you have a question in our little short time together here?
Ooh. Oh, you know what? It's so cheesy, but I have to ask this. What is the number one thing you miss about being in the classroom? Has anyone else asked this yet? I bet they have.
No, they have not. Well, I have always missed being in the classroom since I became an administrator, but I sort of always replicated my classroom in my office anyway, as you know. But I think the thing I miss in the classroom specifically are those moments where a kid gets it, whatever it is, right? And at whatever level that is, whether they're the lowest of my low math kids or the highest flyers, you can see the ding happen. And whether I was in part of it or not, it didn't matter because you could see their internal combustion lighten up, right? And as an admin, you don't get that ding all the time or very often. So I really miss that part of it. Yeah, I've always missed teaching. Uh,
Mhm.
I think I've not hidden that fact. I have, but that's the one thing that I miss is it's the reason we're there, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't care what their grade was. We can overcome grades. I wanted those moments of ding because I think and this I'm gonna feed this into my little venture here, my podcast, but I think those are the moments that create the curiosity that we're all after,
Yeah.
to keep being curious, to keep questioning. Because if you don't have any of those wins, it's gonna be hard to keep being curious and keep questioning, right? So that's really that's what I've missed. So,
Oh, I love that. I have to say,
yeah.
I love that you said that the grade doesn't matter. We can overcome any grade. That is one thing that I wish I had known, way back when I first started, that like you can overcome any grade. The grade's not like the end goal. And I like wish every educator realized that it's,
Yep.
learning those skills, the problem solving skills, the perseverance skills, that's so much more important. Um,
Yeah.
and I know you're gonna cut this, and I'm gonna beg you not to. I just have to say, truly, you were just the most phenomenal admin. But in terms of like a coworker teacher, man, what you did for kids was so powerful. I was heartbroken when you left the classroom, but also thankful to have you as an admin. But you were truly like the most natural math teacher I have ever seen. And I don't know if it's because you like rose up in the ranks and you understood the struggle, but man, the way you just supported and related to the kids, I think it made all the difference.
Well, thank you. I think you know what, who knows, to be honest, but I do attribute it to the fact that I was not good in school. Um, I wasn't like I wasn't a terror. Well,
Maybe
Mr.
a little.
Linloff Mr. Linloff would disagree with that statement, science teacher. Um, but I struggled. And for hundreds of reasons, but I went to a small enough school, you know, that every single teacher kind of watched out for me and all of us others like me,
Yeah.
right? And I think that just made a big difference. I also know I've thought about this. I also know that had I started teaching at 22, I would have been horrid, like right. Starting when I was in my late 30s, I think gave me that. almost 20 years to mellow,
Yeah,
to figure to figure some things out too.
yeah.
So,
There is something to be
yeah.
said for that for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, Sparky. So, I do appreciate you taking a huge chance on my little venture. My guess is you might be back if you're not a pain in the butt. I doubt it, but we'll see.
So,
There's not too many that I'll find that are crazy enough to join me on this. But I want to thank you for your dedication to kids and community. And thank you for joining me here on I Have Questions. I appreciate it.
I loved it. This was wonderful.
Thanks. So y'all know, I know whether I'm a student or a teacher or a medical patient or just an everyday human. One thing that really seems to be lacking is meeting people where they are in life and start hearing where those people are, right? My hope is for all of us that we can turn down the volume on life and start hearing those people and meeting them and then taking our time and our energy to meet them at that point in their day, their life, or maybe even their family's life. We all know we are never the same person from one second to the next. So, with that, Bobby Simone, thank you. All right. From the new teacher email line, this one is from Robin W. Robin asks, I'm a week away from my first day. What is it like to be a teacher on my own? Hmm. Good question. Well, Robin, it can be a lot like being on a tiny little island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But I think, like that island in the middle of the Pacific, you seem very alone, but you are actually very vital and beautiful. I think teaching means working with people who aren't you and probably aren't like you in any way. Teaching means working with kids and adults who are diverse on multiple measures and who are, on the whole, also struggling. But like that island, you are going to get blasted by waves and wind, but also like that island, you will be the safe haven for anything that comes by you. And you will quickly understand that you are there for all those students to grow and learn. It's not easy, but it is valuable and well worth all that wind and waves. So, batten down the hatches. You're going to be great. And just know there's highs, there's lows, but you're there for you and those kids. Good luck, Robin. I wish you the best. All right. From the long COVID world, a little update. Now that I've had to quit my job and spend all my time basically at home, and I was talked into doing this podcast to keep my brain from driving everybody else nuts, I'm going to become an advocate for chronic health. Um, Long COVID is a chronic health condition. I happen to have that plus a couple other goodies thrown in there for good measure. So I just want to say that, this is quite the path that I never expected to take. Um, and anyone with chronic health conditions is in the same boat. They just had no idea. And so every day is a new day. Anyone you know with chronic health conditions is literally making it up as they go. I have great doctors, but there's just certain things that they don't know how to solve. They know what's causing it and they're working on it, but they can't tell you or warn you of anything. So, as you're helping and meeting and working with long COVID or chronic illness patients or people, meet them where they are. They don't even know where they are. And so, take a breath, just feel it out and let them be them. So, I hope that doesn't bore you too much. And thanks for listening. How's that? All right. So, I need your help. Well, I always need your help. Please touch base with me whether you have questions or concerns or helpful hints to make this thing better. Helpful hints telling me that I'm crazy. I am. Just I'll save you some of that time and energy. But anything you need, you can touch base with me at I have questions 2025 at gmail.com. All right. That is I have questions 2025 at gmail.com. Send me new teacher questions, new teacher advice, advice on me doing this thing so that you will still listen. All right. I hope you have a great week. Stay out of trouble. Meet people where they are. All right. Oh. Hold on. P.S. You know, that postscript thing from the old days when we used to write letters? P.S. You know, I was reading an article in National Geographic History about ancient Greece. And I love National Geographic History. They have lots of pictures and stories aren't very long. I can pull it off. Anyway, I got distracted. And while I was reading the article, I got to thinking about philosophy, you know, Greek philosophy, you know, the whole thing. Anyway, and I was looking into some things that came up across an article in Psychology Today. And embedded in that article was this, and I had to write this down. So I'm going to read it. Some colors aren't good for us in the long run, while some make us feel better and healthier, and they will motivate us and will improve our concentration. So, therefore, it's important to know how to use those colors and where to use them. For example, the color white, you know, commonly used in most public spaces and schools, can increase stress and decrease concentration. Warm colors such as yellows and oranges and pinks and reds can actually motivate and energize us. Think sunrise. However, if they're too intense, they can also be irritating. Probably like my voice, but it's okay. Cool colors such as greens and blues and violets can have a calming effect on us, while gray, which is commonly used in professional settings or formal events, can actually be more depressing than black. So, speaking of color, by the way, did you know the oldest known painting in the world is in a cave? You may have known that. But in that cave, the painting is of a pig and three people. Hmm. And it is dated to over 50,000 years ago. Now, there are instances of geometric marks being made 75 to 100,000 years ago, but the pig gets to be the first art that is found. That darn pig, he's always been the other white meat. Peace and love are. This has been a production of SMEB LC Enterprises. Please give us a thumbs up, share us with others, and come back next week for another leg of our journey. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time and energy with us today. This is also a great time to reach out to someone in your life and just ask them, how are you doing? Don't wait until next week. And remember, it is always powerful to say, I have questions.